Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm joined by, I'm going to say, by one of my favorite people. It's
Wow.
Julius Cowdrey.
One of your favorite
Welcome.
people.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
it's
lucky
just I,
me.
I like when people have a bit of a musical background. They promote kind of like wellness and kind of taking care of yourself, especially when it comes to us men. Like we're a nightmare. So when those kind of two worlds collide, I mean, I wouldn't have the podcast if I didn't have that kind of outlook with my mental health and music. So I'd like it when they
Yeah.
collide.
Yeah, I mean, music is definitely my greatest therapy for sure. And you're right, men are just very bad at being vulnerable. So the fact that you're talking about that also I love. That's why I wanted to come on. And I'm doing my best to constantly be as vulnerable as I can. So maybe it'll create a bit more momentum for other men to do exactly the same.
I think so. I kind of wish these kind of conversations were, I mean, they probably were being had when kind of like we went through like the kind of the dark times. But I just wasn't aware of them. So now I get to do this with people who have generally kind of made a bit of an impact, who kind of, even when I'm having a bad day, like I'll see a post or something, I'm like, okay, I'm not on my own when like feeling like this.
Yeah.
So I would like, I mean, obviously we've still got a long way to go, but like I feel like we're moving in the right direction with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's still I still think there's the reason why I think there's still this sort of this stiff upper lips sort of attitude is because I still think that old generation are promoting it. I think more and more so the next generations are coming through are being more vulnerable and open to actually talking about their stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem is that people feel alone and they don't feel like anyone's feeling the same. I think social media is a massive cause of that,
Yeah.
and obviously movies and whatever, because you're looking at this whatever, you don't want to follow stuff that makes you feel low, so you follow all the stuff that makes you feel lifted. But as a result of looking at all the stuff that makes you feel lifted, you compare your life to the lifted, and if you're having a
Yes.
bad day, you're automatically going, well, no one's the same as me, but actually everyone is the same.
Everyone's
Yeah.
winging it.
Everyone's struggling at some point and everyone is winging it and everyone's trying to work it out, but when you're in it you feel very lonely in it, which is and I think just having these conversations, promoting others to have conversations, talking to people, is I think that's the best thing you can do to kind of feel more comfortable that you're not the only one, for
Oh, I
sure.
love that. And this is exactly why I wanted to waffle with you.
Waffle, I love it.
I
I'm actually really hungry right now, so I'd love a waffle.
know, I feel really bad. That's me. I say it all the time, but like the amount of people think that this is like a food podcast. Like I feel like I disappoint a lot of people straight away.
Wait, you're not sending me a waffle right now? Is not a couriered waffle to my
No,
house?
no. I've discussed this with so many people, and there's quite a few people, like the bigger names that we've had on the show, like big pop stars, and they're like, "Oh, you should do this, you should do this," and it's like, well, you could help me out, but
Mm,
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna point any fingers.
that's not point. Not this morning.
Nope. I'm pointing at you, Ed Sheeran. Anyway, I start each one of my shows with something called the weekly waffle, and it's something that is quite minor, but it gets on my nerves. And hopefully, when I talk to my guest about it, it makes me feel better. Now, I might be talking to the wrong person here, considering where you've just been. I mean, to be fair, I might be speaking to the right person about this, considering where you've just been. But the thing
Mm.
that's really winding me up at the moment is how goddamn cold it is.
Okay, are you being a bit of a Scrooge? The only
No, I'm not being
reason,
a Scrooge. I cannot remember it ever being this cold.
okay, it is. Can we swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, it's fucking cold. It is really cold, and for some reason last night my radiator turned off or something, and I'm in bed shivering.
What?
I can't remember shivering in my own house. Now I agree, it's really cold, but then I also, when it started to snow, I did feel Christmassy and festive.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, I'm a cold person. When I go outside, my hands, what is it? How do you call it? Raynoids?
I have no idea.
What's that thing when your hands go white? My fingers, and I'm sure people listening to this get the same, go white in the cold,
Yeah.
and then I can't feel them. So I have to wear like 4 or 5 layers. I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing
Wow.
beanie. I look like I'm ready for the
The Winter
Arctic.
Olympics.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but you're not. You're a summer person, clearly, right? You
Oh,
love.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm destined to be living on a beach somewhere.
Okay, so why aren't you?
Oh, don't do that. No, don't. We're not going to do that this early on.
We're not switching it to you.
No.
Well, okay, what's the ideal scenario though? Would it, for you would it be like spending half the time in UK, London, and then the other just jetting off to Barbados? What's
Do you
going
know
on
what? I
in your
don't know. I just always want a different, because of when I did all this work on like myself and like my mental health, and I was like breaking things down in terms of, okay, why am I feeling a certain way? A huge part of it, and this is one of the things I did want to talk to you about. One of the things that really pinpointed it for me is my environment. Now, I've been on holidays, and I mean, it takes me a good few days to kind of relax when I do go away, but then it feels like a weight has been lifted. And it's that I'm really kind of looking forward to like next year, about like making plans of maybe home isn't quite home anymore. And it's took me to get to this point where actually, well, home is anywhere that I will make it home.
mm,
So that's what I'm toying with at the moment. Because I'd quite happily like just sack this all off and just go and teach someone to surf or something. I
or in
mean, I
Bali?
can't surf, but like I'd learn.
And then you'd learn, and then you teach other, and then you teach others to learn.
Yeah.
But then would you be fulfilled?
I don't know.
I think it's always
This is the conversation, isn't it? Is I don't have any of us ever actually fulfilled.
oh well, considering like I think we're driven by purpose, and as soon and reaching that fulfillment, you'd lose purpose, right? So then do you not just search for more fulfillment? So is it not just like it's a never ending sort of web of trying to find whatever you're trying to find, but actually the truth is you just got to enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's I think I'm the same, by the way. Like I get to yeah about now and I go, why the hell do I live 6 months and 6 months abroad? Why don't I live 6 months abroad? Interestingly though, now this I was away in Bali fortunately for about 5 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Um and I was filming out there, and that was cool. But you know what? After about 2 and a bit weeks, I missed my core
Yeah.
family, friends. I missed my routine. And now I know I was working out there and I was filming out there, and I mean it's hard to say that's work because it's compared to a majority, but we were out there filming,
Yeah.
um, which is amazing. I felt so lucky to be there and to be doing that. But at the same time, 2.5 weeks in, and you can call me sport. I missed some of my
Yeah.
best friends here, and I missed my family, and I missed just the simple things about being at home. Now that was a massive indicator to me that however lavish place, whatever lavish place you're in, whatever beautiful place, however beautiful the sunrise is, or how nice the culture is in another place, home is home. Like
Yeah.
and for me, it was a massive indicator that actually the only thing that really matters is connection.
No, I
The
agree with that.
only thing when people get onto their deathbed, the only thing they look back on and regret, or the only thing that they wish they had more of was connection. Or I wish I spent more time with that person. I wish I told that person I loved them more. It's never I wish I went to Bali for longer, or I
Yeah,
wish I
that's true.
traveled there. I wish I became a what do you get, a surf instructor and tour. It's not. And I think that's proof in the pudding, right? Are we chasing these lavish things and these materialistic things when actually when actually that's looking at it is probably a mistake, and we should just be focusing more on deepening our relationships.
Do you think people actually want these things, or do you think people want to be seen as having these things to impress everyone else?
Oh, thing is, I can only speak for myself, but I think the latter more so. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was one of those people for a long time, and I still am at times. I still have to catch myself being like, why am I doing this? Why am I
Yeah.
thinking this? Or why am I making time for this? Because I think we sort of don't do it subconsciously, because there's this sort of, I think majority of people, there's this sort of need to impress, and it all comes from the ego.
Yeah.
It all comes from the ego of like wanting to, we all want to just have a sort of warmed up ego, don't we? So and
I mean, I just like to be warm at this point. I don't
yeah.
think that
I
would be
love
nice.
how deep we're going already. That's great. Oh, I would love also. I've had to put 3 layers on this morning, and I'm in the house. I yeah. Sorry. In answer to your question, I think so many of us are doing it for other people for sure. Actually, very few people ask themselves the question, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah.
Um, is it actually relevant to my core, to my core values? Is this actually going to be like, am I going to feel authentically me if I do this? Um, because I do believe most people, when they take action, they haven't asked themselves that question. They just do it because it'll be quite cool if what
Yeah.
people think of me if I do that. What It's a good question actually. What do you think?
No, I'd agree with you. That I think there's certain points, and to that, I kind of caught myself doing it this past weekend at like the Christmas parties and all that kind of stuff. That like I'm posting photos as if like this is like my life, when it's like, well, this is just like a flash in the pan moment kind of thing. And like I've kind of this year, especially, I've forced myself to be more present. Like I'm not
Mm,
worried about what has happened because I can't change it. I can't worry about what's going to happen in the future because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So there's been moments when like, oh yeah, like I'll post this, but I'm like, instead of posting about it and taking stupid amount of photos, just enjoy it. Be in the moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love photos, I love videos, I like to
mm.
capture the moment, but I'd rather talk about those moments rather than show people like, oh, look what I did. I'd rather be
I
like, oh my God, I was in this situation, I did this.
also so one thing I've realized, and also I it's admirable that because to get to that place, the headspace that you're getting into where you're actually trying to be more present. I think it's just like an elevated EQ, like an emotional awareness and
Yeah.
understanding of you. Like, I don't want to be stuck thinking about that all the time. And I don't want to always be worried about what's coming up. But the thing about the social media thing is no one cares.
No.
No one gives a shit. It took me such a long time to realize that me going out. I remember. It's only recently. It was just before I went away, and I was with mates, and I took a video around the pub, and my mate, who's just so honest and upfront with me, was like, "Jules, can I be honest? No one gives a fuck that you're in the pub right now. You think people care? Or I don't
Yeah.
know what I was doing. I was in the pub or a bar with my mates, and okay, looking back on what I was doing, I wanted people to know that I'm having a good time. I wanted people to know that I was out and about
Yeah.
and not on my own. So there was a form of maybe searching for a validation or searching for this thing, but it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't showing a fast car or anything like that. And I never do that anyway. I don't even have one. But but no one cares. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a really like honest like conversation to have. It's like if you're posting that, you're always the one who cares more than everyone else about that one thing you're posting. Like
This
you see
conversation
people
got
flicking
very
through their
deep.
story. Yeah, I see flicking people flicking through their story views and looking who's looking at them. And
Who's watched
I
it?
I
Yes.
I find a friend of mine always doing this, looking through, and I said, God, you're waste. Who cares? Like we spend so much time worrying about social media, and then we miss the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah,
Yes. I feel like I want to clap.
yeah, it's true though. Yeah, but so I don't know if you can. With for me, social media is I'm trying to, and so are you actually. So are you actually is I'm trying to give as much as I can and trying to like, and it's hard. I feel like sometimes for me the hard thing is the general stigma around the show and maybe coming from a private school
Yeah.
upbringing. I feel I get what is it called when you don't know you should be there. Um,
Like imposter
uh,
syndrome.
imposter. Okay, so I get
Yeah.
imposter syndrome around not when I'm coaching my client, when I have a
Yeah.
one-on-one client, or with Safespace with group coaching stuff. That's all. I feel like I should be there
Yeah.
on social media because social media has been very much surrounded by what I've done with the show, and because I speak like I do and well spoken whatever. Sometimes I feel like people won't take me seriously, and I get this because of I've got comments like this being like, "How could you tell
Yeah.
me this? You've had a silver spoon in your mouth and you've had all this and all this," and I'm like, sometimes it's hard to swallow because I genuinely am coming from a place of I just want to help.
Yeah.
Um, and secondly, these people don't know me; they don't know what's happened with my upbringing and stuff. And so sometimes that's the frustrating comment. I've got a lot of hate in my time. The worst one is when people compare me to my what they think I've had and what they think of my upbringing,
Yeah.
and automatically because of the show, because of Made in Chelsea, people automatically think that I've had this sort of like lavish, crazy
Yeah.
upbringing and never done anything for myself and always given this trust fund thing. And it's just completely the opposite.
How do
Um,
you manage that though? Because obviously, when out of the reality TV shows that are out there, Made in Chelsea is like, I'm gonna say like the posh one, isn't it? It's the one that like, you are portrayed as having these like big, incredible like lives and money isn't an object, this kind of thing. So how do you manage that when you do get those comments? Because I mean, imagine if you like you said it before, like it's a job. So then, but it might not be like where, like, I mean, you said it before we like jumped on, like it might not be like the long term thing. Obviously, your purpose is helping others and helping them be the best versions of themselves. But so
Mm.
how do you manage that kind of, or how do you navigate yourself through that when you do get the negativity?
Uh, I mean, I joined the show because I thought it was a smart move for elevating my online presence.
Yeah,
I didn't go on the show because I was doing fuck all because I had too much cash to spend and was bored. So film me because it'll be fun.
yeah,
I think it's sort of I think when I watched the show when I was younger, I loved watching the show
yeah,
because it was just sort of like this view into these people's lives. But um, how to explain it? I feel like the show is like it's. I mean, look, I couldn't. I have to work hard to make a living, right?
yeah,
And the show is okay. I make money off the show, and that's great. And doing it is fun, and it won't be forever. But it was all to gain a online presence. It's like it's like we speak to someone on Love Island. They're not going to, you went to Love Island to find love. No, you went on Love Island to get a following. And I'll be honest, I went on Love Island so I could release a song off the back of it. And
yeah,
then suddenly I'd have a following because I was doing so many gigs that no one was listening to me.
yeah.
And I was so bored of doing shows. I remember the show pretty much just before I came on the show. Sorry, the gig that I did just before I came on the show. I was somewhere in Essex and someone said, "Do you want to do this gig?" And I was like, "Sure." And they said, "There'll be loads of people there." I walked in, there was the old man and his dog, right? There was no one there. And I
No,
and a few people apart from my mum, my dad, my brother, and one of my best friends. And I think I was in Epping or somewhere in Essex. And I sat down and all I really wrote was love songs. And to be fair, it was ridiculous because I'd only been in love once, but it was the only thing I knew how to write about and the heartbreak. And I don't know, how could I write about the sun being, or whatever. So there I sat down singing my ballads, and suddenly 20 guys come in and they're in this bachelor party, and they're down it, and I'm going
oh wow,
singing my silly ballads in the corner, and I was ready to kick. What's the saying? Kick the pat. What is the saying? Kick the tin. I don't know, but I was ready to throw the towel in.
oh, there we go. That's the one.
There it is. I was ready to throw it down, and then suddenly the opportunities came to do the show, and I was like, "Oh, a chance for me to get a following."
Yeah,
That was why I did it. I didn't really think ahead of what the implications of how people would start to view me, as this sort of this. I maybe it was ignorant. I didn't really think there
yeah,
was. I thought people would just be like, okay, well, I'll just be genuinely me. People. The stigma will be around the way I act and the way I am, not the stigma around who I am because of the show and
yeah,
this whole posh boy pub private school thing. Um, and so for me, the part of my journey in the next years is trying to sort of shift that a little bit, trying to and it'll take time. So that's why I get the whole like imposter syndrome because I'm just like,
yeah,
I hope people can take me seriously. Because would I take the Made in Chelsea guy trying to give helpful advice to others? Would I take that seriously? I think I'd find it a little hard. So for me, I'm just going to continue giving that advice, continue being there for people in my
yeah.
DMs I'm chatting to all the time. Me and my brother, we got Safespace. We're doing a lot of group coaching stuff, which is amazing. And what we're doing that with the year ahead is we wanted to do school tours around and
Mhm.
talk to kids on motivation, mindset, talk about what we went through, what we felt like we were limited as kids. On top of that, we want to create monthly meetups for men and groups of people. We want to give back as much as possible.
Mate,
Um,
this is incredible, and this is obviously a huge reason why I did want to waffle with you about this, is because regardless of, and this is one of the biggest things that I've learned from the show, and to be honest, it came from Sean Paul because I was just like, I was literally just sat in my bedroom talking to Sean Paul, like listening to his music my whole life, and he was there to saying, like, I've struggled, like I had depression, I had this, I had that, and it was a real kind of like, regardless of your upbringing, regardless of what opportunities you've been given or what opportunities you haven't been given, we're all human. We all feel these human emotions, whether it's happy, sad, anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. These are human, like they're natural emotions. And I think this is where I do get my back up, especially when there's comments made, especially like people like yourself. Is like, you don't know me. Like you're seeing kind of like a portrayal of me that is very heavily edited for entertainment purposes. Like
mhm.
that isn't you. like that. Obviously, I know your friends and your family are going to know you like inside and out, but these people who are watching these shows, like they don't know the struggles, they don't know what goes on behind the scenes,
They
and
don't.
it's stuff like that really winds me up because it's just like you're still going to struggle. Everyone struggles.
Yeah.
Sorry, that
And
was quite
no, no,
ranty.
no, no. Sorry, I was just letting that sink in. Everyone struggles. Every single person struggles. You know, interestingly, the two people I know that have struggled the most that I've met from personal experience have, on paper, the luckiest upbringing,
Yeah,
whatever people would say. I like, and 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 so yeah, I've struggled in my own sense, and then even if I were to say that, there might be people listening going, well, you don't know what struggling is, and and this is the bullshit side of it, is that we
yeah,
all go through massive pain and trauma. No one knows what I've been through with my family. No one
yeah,
knows what I've been through, what I've lost, and what I've been in my relationships, and what happens up here, and
yeah,
whatever you see, you don't know what's happening in my head. You don't. Like you might see someone, tomorrow who looks at you and faces smiles, but they might be questioning whether they want to commit suicide tomorrow. You
yeah,
just don't know. And I think that's the scary part of mental health and mental ill health, is that you never fucking know.
yeah,
And it's scary, and especially with men, because men don't talk.
yeah,
And this is why I love that we're waffling away talking about stuff that actually matters. And then
yeah,
maybe another day we'll waffle away, talk and have a jokey chat all day.
yeah,
But it's true. I think it's important that we continue to talk about it and know that, because I think men feel lonely. I
yeah,
had a good conversation with my girlfriend about this last night, actually, and she said, we were talking about, I was talking about doing these mental health meetups for men, but then also I was like, well, but the important thing is to get everyone together, not feel like, and she said, well, don't show men I think would feel quite naturally worried to talk about their stuff in front of women. I disagree. I
yeah,
don't think men are worried to talk about women that much. Men are worried to talk about their stuff in front of men. So if we can normalize that conversation around women as
yeah,
well as men, however old or young, and allow a 15-year-old and a 50-year-old, man, woman, or any gender or whatever, to come together in a room and talk, that's that would be pretty powerful. Um,
completely.
there's, you know what, there's incredible success in AA for alcoholics. The amount of people who are staying sober through the act of coming to these meetups, and they speak about their alcoholism. They have this moment to
Yeah,
talk, and they speak openly. And there's usually, I think, there's someone who speaks at the start and speaks about their experience, and then everyone has a chance to speak.
it's the community element, isn't it, of
And to feel
these
you're
conversations?
not the only one.
Yeah,
But they don't have that for someone who's struggling a little bit.
mm,
They don't have that for someone who's just having a bad day, because the bad thought creates the bad emotion that might create the bad day. And if that rolls into another day and another day, you're rewiring yourself to feel a certain way. And that's what causes the really low mood. That's what
yeah,
causes the depression, the procrastination, that I don't want to get out of bed today, the low action. And then it can cause a really bad state, where actually it all started with a thought, or all
yeah,
started with the way someone made you feel. So if we can catch it early, right, that feels like the gold dust. Like, but where would I go, right? Where would you go if you just wanted to be open and talk to people?
yeah.
There's nowhere really, is there?
You know what though? It's and this is why I think talking about it is so powerful, is because I didn't know other people out there were going through what I was going through until I sat down in front of this bloody waffle and spoke about it. Because I thought, well, okay, well, I like to talk, I'll just use it as an outlet. And now 2 years later, I'm still having these incredible, powerful conversations that they're all being added to like my toolkit for when I do have those, those bad days, or when those thoughts are kind of starting to creep in. I will link it back to the conversations that I've had to be like, well, actually, the guy from Made in Chelsea told me that, you know, as part of our conversation, that you've got to keep going. There is people out there, there is people struggling, and it's like it is that feeling of like I'm not on my own.
Yeah, yeah. That's the powerful thing about Safespace as well, which we're doing at the moment. Fabe and I have a twin brother. Do you know I have a twin brother?
Yeah, yeah. Because this is what I
Um,
wanted to talk to you about. Because I think this is where, aside from the music, safe space is what I kind of saw first of you. And
of course.
I kind of love I have a huge respect for anyone who kind of turns their pain into their purpose, because again, no one knows what it was like to get to that point. And for someone
Mm.
to be in that point now who wants other people not to feel how they were feeling, I have nothing but respect for. So this is why I reached out, because I was like, I kind of wanted to know how Safe Space started and like kind of what it means to you now. Because even in the title is just, it immediately gives you that sense of comfort.
Yeah, that you're not alone, that
Mm.
you can be vulnerable and it not judged. And that's the thing is that's what. So I became so my twin brother played professional cricket. He actually
Yeah.
left the sport because of depression. He had that
Oh
he
wow.
wasn't happy anymore and he left the game. But he was following in this sort of these sort of family footsteps. But my dad and grandpa also played cricket, so it's almost this dynasty, and there
Yeah.
was a lot of pressure. He left the game. Took him a lot of time to find his purpose, and he just decided that he wanted to during COVID. Actually, just wanted to help people. He's been
Yeah.
through his challenges, wanted to help, and it was like, oh, maybe I could coach. I don't know much about it, but let me. I'm going to do this course. I'm going to do this really with the ICF, the Institute of Coaching
Yeah.
Federation. And he started doing that and he started loving it. And I was like, this is interesting. Now, I'm not doing any gigs. I'm doing some songwriting things. Before COVID, I had a social media agency that was doing really well. We lost 8 clients, and my business partner was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going back to Ireland. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Oh wow.
COVID came, and I thought, okay, well, why don't I do this and see if maybe it's something that I could. I've always wanted to help people, even when I was younger. When I was always like, if I were to do a course, I'd do psychology because I love the mind.
Yeah.
And I do love the act of just. I'm always the person who always people go to. I'm always the person that wants. I'm always asking how you feeling because I want to know, not how are you, just because it's a quick, yeah, good you. So I did the course. I learned to be a coach, and there's a lot of learning. It's not just, hey, how you doing? Talk to me about your stuff.
Yeah.
I started coaching and started realizing how much, how powerful it is to be this, to have someone to objectively view your life and ask good questions. That's what coaching is. It's being a good listener and asking good questions to help your client get to the place that they need to get to. One big misconception about coaching is that I'm telling someone what to do. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm never telling anyone what to do. And then some people go, well, you're coaching. How do you feel like you have the right to tell people what to do? I'm not telling what people to do. I'm asking. I know that often I know the answer before they do because I've done
Yeah.
it long enough, and it's easier to see it from a bird's eye. I'm helping people get there.
Yeah.
You're helping show the way for them to make the decision for them. That started going really well, but what I realized I spoke to my brother about this, Fabian. There was a barrier to entry. There was a barrier to entry for some people, and that was cost. Coaching is quite expensive. It's time and the reason why it's
Yeah.
expensive, just like therapy and counseling, is because it's very time. It's time intensive, but it's also it's a lot of energy going in. And I remember we spoke and we were like, okay, how do we help more people, but also make it more accessible to people? Because at the moment, we're trying to help people with their mental health. I've had clients who were on the verge of saying goodbye to this world, and
Yeah.
they've suddenly worked with suddenly worked with me, and they wanted to live again, right?
Mate, that
This
is
and
incredible.
what if that one person said, "Oh, I can't afford it," and that person decided that they didn't want to
Yeah.
live again? And so I feel like, and also getting coaching and therapy help with the NHS, I think it's quite hard to get. I think there's like a massive
Yeah.
waiting list. Isn't that crazy? There's a waiting list for mental to try and help you with mental health, and that's not the NHS fault. That's probably because there's a lack of therapists or coaches or counselors available.
Yeah.
So we set up Safespace. Safespace is group coaching. We work with 8 to 10, usually 10 people on a Zoom every week. There's a community, there's a WhatsApp group, and we speak on about challenging. We basically challenging topics. We challenge the group to be open and talk about stuff. For example, there'll be a session on limiting beliefs or confidence, or how to maintain enthusiasm, understanding ego. We have different special guests coming in also from month 2 of the mindset program.
Yeah.
So we have a guy coming on and talking about self-love. He's written a book called Self-Loveology. So he's a big, like, he loves that. We have another guy coming in talking about stress and nutrition. And so we basically want to throw so much value at Safe Space to allow people to feel not alone, to openly, I'm vulnerable, and we're all vulnerable. And the conversations are amazing. The WhatsApp groups are popping up. So now people feel like they're not alone. They're chatting through the week.
Yeah.
You're getting some person saying, I'm having a bad day, and the whole group are going, it's okay, we're here for you. You're creating this place for people to feel like they are sharing your
Which,
journey with you.
from a male point of view, is phenomenal because, like, it's quite unheard. Like 5 6 years ago, it was very unheard of, and this is what I love about it now because whether it's like a waffle, whether it's like joining a coaching, like it's that community around people saying like you're not on your own. We all have these vulnerabilities, and I love the fact that you said there about like self love, and I feel like a lot of men don't appreciate giving themselves like what they need because there is that kind of stigma around it, isn't it? It's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But it's these kind of things like journaling or taking yourself for a walk, the gym, eating the good like right food. These are the small things that are going to lead to the bigger things and to get you to where you need to be and to be that person that
But
you
what
want
you
to be.
but what you just said is so important. If anyone's listening to this, rewind that back and listen to that again. My favorite author is a guy called Robin Sharma, and I've got so many of his books. I think he's amazing. And he says something along the lines of this doing the small, seemingly insignificant things will transform your life tenfold and transform your life. And people don't realize they seem so insignificant that people don't do them. And
Yeah.
it's like, this is what transformed my mental health and my understanding. This is why I wanted to be a coach, to help people understand this, is those tiny acts of things you're doing for yourself actually taps into I'm worthy. So every time you go, I'm going to wake up tomorrow a little earlier, or I'm gonna go for a morning walk, or I'm gonna, before I feed the dogs this morning, or but do that, I'm gonna do this for me. I'm gonna start my day for
Mm.
me, or I'm gonna read 10 pages. Anything you do for you taps into I'm worthy. Oh wow, I did that for myself. And once you do these things over time, your self-love improves. So I truly believe self-esteem and self-love comes from doing small acts for yourself. And that's how it grew for me. And this conversation is literally the diamond. It's the gold dust of this conversation, this waffle we've had today. Because if people start to realize that, and start to realize that just putting one little tiny toe in front of the other rather than a foot, that's what will get you to a place where you can actually be kind to yourself again.
That's what we do. That's what we do
Yeah.
on this show.
Oh no, yeah, yeah. Well, no, exactly. Because that's it. Like, and that's what the cool thing about Safespace is, just like allowing people to be like, you're not alone. We're all like, I remember I had we had a productivity month on one of the months on Safespace. It's month 4, and we have an amazing guy, CEO, coming in actually this Sunday, talking about becoming an action taker and stuff. But we had a procrastination session which I was running, um, and I remember at the start of the session I went, who procrastinates? Who's a good procrastinator? And everyone put their hands up, and they were like, oh, I thought I. And we went around the conversation and be like, everyone genuinely thought that they were just a terrible procrastinator and no one else procrastinates.
I think I
And
know someone who isn't.
I know, exactly. And even the successful whatever CEO, whatever, it's all smoke and mirrors. We're all struggling from procrastination at times. We're all struggling with the ego. We're all struggling with our morning routines. And I wish sometimes we could all everyone could just be like, yeah, we're all fucking up today, but we're gonna do our best. Kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
No, completely. And I think it travails these kind of conversations. Even now, I'm like, yeah, because it's like I could, especially with how I'm feeling now. I was just like, oh no, I might like drop. But then it's like I always believe like you have these kind of conversations at the exact time you're supposed to be having them. So it's
Mm,
that like well, I'm glad I didn't kind of like well, actually, no, I'm not feeling 100% because now I feel like raring to go. Like, but it's just
yeah,
you don't realize like how impactful like these kind of conversations actually are. And it
yeah,
does sound like really narcissistic, but like when I do edit them back, or I'll come back to them in like in a month's time and I'll listen to it again and be like, it's kind of like a diary entry. Because I feel like, well, yeah, you knew how I was feeling kind of like behind the scenes, but then pushing through those kind of like limiting beliefs and kind of like, kind of not giving up and just, what, just do it anyway. It's that gives you like the fire in the belly to keep going.
yeah. I think things do come at the right time, but also timing's a weird one. It's like I spin instruct as like a side hobby. It's very so
Yeah.
I actually had a class this morning and my throat was quite hoarse, and
Oh,
I was
wow.
in a bit of an annoy. I was a bit frustrated with it, and I was like, And I remember saying, I was like, in the class, it was sort of metaphor for all of us, really. I was like, when you're ready, this is your time, go for it. When you're ready,
Yeah.
it's your last minute and a half. And I was like, actually, you might not feel ready, so you just go for it even though you're not ready. And I
Yeah.
think, I thought to myself, I was like, actually, that's so true about so much. We're not, you might not feel ready to do that thing or whatever it is, so you almost got to just take a leap of faith with so much, right? Because we've had this conversation. I know as a result of having this conversation, hopefully people also listen to this and they go away and they feel like it's really lifted them, because it's lifted me
No,
having
I
this
don't feel that.
conversation.
Like I didn't really
I
know
feel
what
like
to
I'm
expect.
on
I knew
some
it'd be
sort of,
good, but I
I'm on
feel
some,
like, oh,
I'm on a dopamine drug right now. What are you doing to me,
I
Taylor?
know,
Fuck.
sorry. But to be fair, speaking of kind of like dopamines and like good things, one of the things that I lean to kind of give me a bit of to put a smile on my face is music. And obviously, we talk about music quite a lot on the show. And obviously, you're a number one on iTunes at one point.
Okay, this is I like okay, it's quite funny actually, because I when there was one gig I did, actually happened a couple of times when I get introduced as our next artist coming up, or our headliner for tonight, when I was doing like an intimate gig or something, is beat Ed Sheeran to number one on the iTunes charts, Julius Cowdrey. And it's quite a funny moment because I'm just like, I was number one on the iTunes singer songwriter chart. I was for a day,
Good. Yeah.
right? Right. Ed Sheeran was three, and I think Tom Odell was two. And so my song, it was doing really well. It was called Seven Roads. It was my most successful song. It's probably my best song actually. And yes, it was there for a day or two. I saw it going up. I was like, what the hell is going on? Is this a mistake? Is this a glitch? And then, but Ed Sheeran had the song that he was on number three at was a song he released 2 years prior. and,
Oh,
and he
okay.
was, and even when I left that day or 2 days later, he was still at number three. So I think so. It's just quite funny how people introduce you to certain things. But yeah, it was quite a cool feeling. I screenshotted it, and I never let that screenshot go because it was quite a cool
No,
feeling. Like,
rightly so as well.
Julius Cowdrey, Tom Adele, Ed Sheeran, Gabriel Aplin. I was like, this is quite yeah, I'll savor this today. This is a good little, you know.
I hope you put it in a frame.
I need to find that photo, but it's somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because I think this is one another reason why I wanted to talk to you about. Like, is music like an outlet for you? I mean, because it's one of the things that I really wish that I could do is sing. I like for someone who listens to the amount of music that I do, I wish I had more like involvement in it.
yeah,
But
I bet your Spotify Wrapped was like 4 million minutes.
oh, honestly, it's awful. And for some bizarre reason, Band-Aid is in it every year. Like I don't know why. Like I must be listening to Band-Aid a lot.
Well, that Band-Aid sounds like a Band-Aid, doesn't it? Sounds like it's something you need to put on a cut. I was when I was looking through. So my top artist was a guy called Fiji Blue. Have you heard of him?
No.
I didn't know it was my top art. I didn't even know who this person was. And then I realized that I listened to all his music because I put a song radio on from one of his songs, and it's called Fiji Blue. There you
Okay.
go. I'll send it to you. But
I was
I
gonna
just
say
also,
I love when people recommend music.
oh, I mean, I can recommend music.
Oh,
I'm playing music the whole time. I'm playing music as I wake up in the morning. I've got an amazing, by the way. I don't know if you can link stuff, but I've got amazing morning motivation.
okay, well you
Uh,
need to send that through.
there's a couple. There's one of them is a Denzel Washington, and you will have the greatest morning you've ever had if you listen to this for the first time.
This is no pressure
Obviously,
now.
well, no, this will
Because
give
if
it.
I
Do it
don't,
tomorrow. Okay, do it tomorrow. I make sure, yeah, and then have a listen to that, and also then I'm always constantly listening to music throughout the day. I think it doesn't it makes you more. I don't know, music just makes you feel great, doesn't it?
definitely.
But not when you're heartbroken. Not that I'm heartbroken
No.
now, but it's just not. I wish music didn't exist when I'm heartbroken. Every song you could relate to. It's amazing, really. And then you start listening to every lyric, and you're like, oh my god, this person gets me.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, they're singing this about me.
Yeah,
As I'm staring out
ridiculous.
the window with the rain pouring down. Like, it's
Yeah,
not dramatic at all.
no, not just at all. But I think the yeah podcasts, all that I'm very into. But I will link that to you if you want to link it
No, definitely. I love
to people.
recommendations.
No,
But
yeah.
some of the questions that I always ask my guests who come on the show. What song needs to be playing to get Julius on the dance floor?
Oh, easy answer every single time. You ready for it?
Okay, hit me.
See if you can see if you can guess the song if I name the artist.
Okay.
ABBA.
Oh, that's not fair. Okay.
Oh
Uh,
wait, that's not fair because it's obvious, or that's not fair because you're not sure because you love all ABBA.
no, because there was literally absolutely every single one of ABBA's songs will probably get me on the dance floor.
I reckon this is the number, and I reckon this is the amount of people who are going to go ABBA. I reckon this is the number one song that will get the world on their chairs. The
It could be
world.
Dancing Queen then.
No,
No. Oh,
or maybe the UK. I've never seen anything like it. I was in a pub, and I was at Glastonbury this year, and I was in a bar in Glastonbury after the festival, and two occasions this song came on, the whole place went mental. Old, young, from everywhere you can think of. This
okay.
song.
I feel like I can see the video.
There's
So
not
is
a
it Gimme,
song
Gimme,
out
Gimme?
there. Yes, gimme,
Yes.
gimme,
Yeah.
gimme, gimme.
Yeah.
And I heard a remix of it. And that is, you know what, you can play any song in the world, but that song will get me
I
moving.
love that.
And also, I'm Swedish as well. So yeah, I feel like there's a sense of, I don't know, culture going through. I don't,
Yeah. Feels like
yeah.
home.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I've only been to Sweden twice. I'm a terrible Swede.
That's the soundbite for this episode.
I'm a terrible Swede. Sounds like I'm talking about the veg. But but yeah. That what is your song? What's your song that gets you up there?
See, I was dreading the day this was going to happen. I'm surprised that hasn't happened this far.
Well, because no
But
one's ever asked you.
yeah, no one cares, Julius.
I
Everyone
like it.
comes on this show and it's all it's never How's
Take.
Taylor.
And I'm not taking, I'm giving. Now tell me, Taylor, what's your song? How you can't I
I
don't think you can be gimme,
think
but
I think it's got to be Murder on the Dance Floor.
okay, give us a rendition.
No, not with the voice. I can't do that.
This is your moment to shine, Taylor.
No,
This is
this
your
happened.
moment
No.
to bring it.
Do you know
Here's the
how many
moment.
people have come on this show with like guitars? They've done a little bit and then they point to me as if like I'm going to carry on singing. And afterwards, I'm like, I cannot believe I just did that.
Oh, you got involved.
Yeah, there was who did it? Kevin Rudolph. He had a song called "Let It Rock," and he pulled out the guitar and he was like, "First when I arrive, I've been the fire of me," and then he got to the bit and he was like, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
no,
no.
no!"
Did
Like
you
this
tune it?
song was Grammy Award like
Oh
nominated. It had
no.
Little Wayne on it, and now me.
But from Little Wayne to Little Taylor, that could have been your
Thank
moment.
you. That
Little
would have been my
Waffle.
moment. Oh, but I took the moment. Or Celavi by Bewitched.
Okay. Sing it.
No, I'm not singing.
No, you're not singing.
No,
Especially with a
because
guest.
my breath. Every time I go to laugh, like I'm dreading listening to this back because I feel like I've got like such like a
Oh, how
because I'm
awful is
trying
that?
not to laugh.
I got chapped lips at the moment, and I find it hard to smile sometimes. So I try and be miserable the whole time, so I don't have to.
Oh,
And so you have that issue with your coughing.
yeah, but because I have a chest infection, not because like I'm trying my hardest not to laugh,
Not because you're miserable and you
not
haven't
because
found
I'm
it
miserable.
funny.
But speaking of miserable, is there a song that
Speaking of miserable, no one's ever said speaking of miserable. Okay, speaking of being in pain, let's go.
yes?
Okay,
What
go
is
on.
there a song that you kind of or an album that when you are feeling a little bit down that you lean towards to kind of bring the emotion out?
Oh, okay. So that when I was, oh, there's a song that okay. So there's one artist I really like that is quite maybe niche. Is a girl called Lauren Daigle.
Oh, okay. I've heard of
I
her.
like real vocal.
Yeah,
I like look I like pop music. I like I like some hip hop and I go down that. I love house music.
yeah,
But when I want to feel a bit more, mellow, I like real music. I like
yeah,
music that actually has been and some pop music I just sometimes I listen to. I'm like, you spent 4 minutes on that
yeah.
lyric. I like
I
that
want to
those
feel the
lyrics.
pain. I want to
I
feel
want to
the
hear. I want
pain
to
in the
learn. I
voice.
want to hear a story, and I want to hear the vocal
Yeah.
because it's just a genuinely raw, unbelievable vocal. Lauren Daigle or Ben Platt.
Wow. Okay.
Have you heard of Ben Platt?
I have heard of Ben Platt. Yes.
If people haven't heard of Ben Platt, his vocal is better than the recording. You can go see him, look at him live on YouTube. It's one of the greatest vocals, male vocals I've heard.
Wow.
Lauren Daigle, I reckon, is the best female vocal I've ever heard.
Wow. Okay.
Peace Be Still. Peace Be Still is a song that you listen to and you're like, how? I will send you a YouTube recording of this, of her singing it, and it'll be mind blowing, and you'll be like, fair enough. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like I like to listen to real vocal and vulnerability if I'm feeling a vulnerable place.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna suddenly put on with Lil Wayne or Snoop Dogg when I'm feeling a bit like that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess,
I feel like when you're in those kind of spaces, it's those kind of songs that again make you feel like you're not on your own. Like, oh, well, they must be feeling like some element of what I'm feeling because they're pouring their heart into this kind of overly, well, not ballad, but like into this piece of, I always call it art, but I feel like it makes me sound quite wanky. I don't mean for it to, but it is art, isn't it?
yeah, it's art. It's art like any other, isn't it? I mean, the thing about art though in the art world is that you can throw a chair in a room and put a towel over it and say that's art. And sadly, that's the same with music. There's some music out there that I'm just like, you literally threw a chair there and put a towel over, and that's the song. But
Yeah.
there's masterpieces, and then there's the songs that you listen to and you connect with on such a level. And then that's why I feel lucky to love music the way I do, and clearly you
Yeah.
do as well, right? Um, but yeah, yes, for sure, for sure. I couldn't live without it. I
Do you
don't
remember
know.
the last time a song gave you goosebumps?
Lauren Daigle, Peace Be Still.
Oh,
I actually,
I didn't
out of
even think
respect,
then. That was like, bam.
for that song, I never, I never multitask when I listen to it. I feel it's like I
Wow.
literally just like listen to it and I'm like, fuck. Um, but I also like one of my favorite songs of all time is Meatloaf. It's all coming back to me.
Big song.
Um, there were nights when the wind was so, you know the song. Cool.
Yes.
I can't emulate that vocal, but
I was always like, go on, sing it. Yeah, you like it.
oh, here you do it to me now.
Oh
Oh
God.
wow.
Big.
Not about it, tiny death, and I just that's her bit. To it right. Do you know the song?
Yes. Of
I
course I know this
started
song.
crying in the instant that you left, and I can't remember when or where or how. I honestly, that song is just epic. Isn't it epic? It's like this
Yes.
epic feeling.
Yeah. I love that.
Um,
I love those kind of songs when I'm in the gym. It's like that real cinematic, like, yes, I can
Come
lift this
on!
heavy thing.
Suddenly you're lifting the weight you never thought you could lift.
Exactly.
I don't
Those
know.
5 kgs.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
But
punch
it's
the
real
best.
music. But talk about genuinely because you're a music lover. It's real music. Music
Yeah.
that actually they went. I want to create this, or this is the story. This is what it's going to. And that's why I don't really ever go into the charts and go shuffle anymore. I go
Yeah.
to a song I love and go song radio shuffle that. Spotify is great for that. I think
Yeah.
this conversation's really cool, but not
Yeah.
people are having this conversation. Even people listening to this should probably be having this conversation, but they'll listen to this and they'll feel like they're not alone, but then they may stop listening to this and then feel like they're alone again. So this is if you're listening to this and you feel like it's resonated with you, have this conversation. And like and yes, listening to good podcasts, listening to good music is always going to help. Writing down is going to help, but I don't think there's anything more powerful than openly letting go of whatever you're going through words.
That was
So,
powerful.
I appreciate it, man.
That was really powerful because I know I genuinely completely agree. And if there is anyone out there who obviously wants more information, head to Safespace
Appreciate
because
that.
it is phenomenal work, and I'm excited now to see where this goes.
We're honestly our ambitions with it are so huge. Like if I told people the goals, then people be like, "You're going mad." But we just want to help more people, and the string of safe spaces that we'll have lots of different coaches sending different programs all around growth mindset, and that could grow and grow and grow forever, which is really cool. But like just like you're giving out now, and just like you're giving out with your show and giving, the more you give, the more you get back in just
100%.
in tenfold. I actually always thought it was a load of bollocks, and I'm not gonna lie. I was like, because I was ultimately quite selfish in my teens and my early 20s. I didn't, and like I said, people don't really care about anyone else but themselves. But the more you give back to others, the more you feel rewarded within yourself.
100%.
Do you feel that as well?
100%. One of the first questions that anyone asked me, especially like local about like the podcast, because like not in a big-headed way, like in Coventry where I'm from, there's not many people who have done what I've done from a podcast point of view, but it's still from a real painful experience from me that's still going on. You know, my mum's still in a neurological care home. We still have the same kind of, fear that I have from day one from this starting. But the first question that anyone ever asked me is like, "Oh, are you making money from it yet?" And it was like, this was never this was never to create an income. This was genuinely to for an outlet for me to make me feel better, for me to connect with people who
Mm,
want to give back. Like it was never about like financial gain. If anything, like I've gained way more than I could ever imagine. Like, and I don't think you could actually put a number on it because it's completely, well, to be honest, it saved my life. And now it has
wow.
changed my life in a way that I I could never ever comprehend. So I can't put a figure on that. So it's like, but then is when you say that to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, okay." It's like, well, you clearly don't know me, but yeah, no, I agree with you in that sense of like the more you give, the more you get back. Whether it's not all about money. Like there's so much more to life than just what figure is sitting in your bank account.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, the fact that you just said all those things, that the power of what this has done for you, imagine what it's doing for others listening, and imagine it's
That's
what it's
what I
doing
don't
for.
get, especially when I'm having a shit day and I get a message like, "Oh, I've managed to get on a flight for the first time in 20 years." And I'm like, one, I'm not on a flight. Two, well, I'm glad it's worked for you because I'm having a shit day.
Yeah,
But
you're
no,
allowed that
it
shit.
does change. It does blow my mind. It really does.
How are you now?
A hell of a lot better. Like I still have like my bad days, but then I'm very lucky now that I have conversations like this to listen back to. And I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily get when I say these kind of things is because these are like diary entries for me. Like there's certain things, like I said it like in the beginning of the show, but there's moments, especially like the early episodes where I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't really know about like mental health, but I was just talking about like my lived experience, like, oh, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, which I can now look back on and be like, well, at that point, you were lost, you were vulnerable, like you didn't have a clue what you were doing. Now I'm in this position where I know who Taylor is, I know what Taylor wants, and I know what Taylor needs to get through those kind of bad days. Whereas back then, those early episodes didn't have a clue. So I'm
So
very
what's
fortunate.
how do you bridge the gap? Like you said you're a place. Okay, fine. You go through low days. So do we all.
Mm,
You go to a place where you didn't know who you were, and you weren't happy,
yeah,
and then you're at a place where you know yourself and you know what makes you content, and you're still
yeah,
working it because that's life.
yeah,
But you've found a bridge to get over that gap. What
yeah.
is that? How do if you could give any advice on your journey from getting from I didn't know myself, I wasn't that happy, to a place where I actually truly accept myself and I'm working on it. What is in the middle? How do you get
Do you
there?
know what? It's going to sound really strange, especially considering what I do now for a job, but I stopped listening. I stopped listening to everyone else and I started listening to myself. Because of the situation I was in, I was giving so much of myself away, whether it was friendships, whether it was relationships, whether it was the situation I was in with my mum, I was giving so much out. And then it wasn't until I started doing this work that I was like, okay, I can't listen to that you right now. I can't listen to what everyone else is telling me what I should be doing. I needed to kind of regroup with myself and be like, well, listen to me. Listen to what do you need right now? Not what everyone else is telling me what that I need. What do I need? And it was that I think is key for me to like, especially now when I do have those bad days, it's like, what do I need? And I
Oh,
think that's when I went down the whole kind of, you do get the generic advice, the meditation, the go for a walk. Like for me, they didn't. I mean, they're very, very powerful tools, but it was this. It was the connection. It was the conversation. It's that. So I kind of not necessarily like I sit and talk to myself, but I listen to myself, not
it's
everyone
interesting.
else.
It's introspection, isn't it? I
Yeah.
guess that so that power of just you just stopping and going, what do I actually need? I love this sort of analogy, and I speak to my clients. If you and I went into if you said to me, you said, come over, Jules, come over to my house, and in your living room or your sitting room or whatever, it was a mess,
Yeah.
right? And you asked me to clear the mess. I would know how to clear the mess. In fact, you would know how to clear the mess. In fact, anyone walking into that room would know how to clear that mess, right? You put the shoes in the shoe cupboard, you put the blanket on, you'd fold it up, you put the remote controllers by the TV. You would do all those obvious things. You take the rubbish, put it in the bin, and you clear the mess, right? We very rarely ever ask ourselves the exact question of how can I clear the mess? And I think it's just a real simple question to ask ourselves. And when I had this real vulnerable conversation about this, right? And my friend was like, but what if you don't like the house you're living in? And the same question is, and that's a deep question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, and that's the reason why we don't clear the mess, right? Because if you love yourself, you ask the question, how do you clear the mess? But if you don't love the house you're living in, then you don't care about clearing the mess. And so I think there's tapping into self-love and understanding and doing those things, whatever that is, if it's all these little acts and like you said, the conversations and asking yourself, being kind to yourself. But if you could ask yourself that question, maybe this week, next week, today, whatever it is, if there's any mess I could clear, what would it be? And how would I do it? And what are my steps to doing it? And you're almost looking at your life almost like a small business. You're going, currently this isn't profiting me. How could I make this profit my life right now? We don't sit down with ourselves enough.
This conversation is probably one of the best that I've had on here
Oh wow.
because it's quite weird that I feel like you're speaking my language. Like there's a lot of people that come on the show and you kind of like, oh, okay, like just really generic conversation, but this one's like challenging my thought process, and this is what I love. I love this waffle so much because this is what it does to me.
Yeah. What was going through your thoughts when we were talking about that?
It was just like, okay, but there's things that I put in space, especially when you said about like the house. It's like, well, if you don't care about it enough, you're not going to clear it. So it's like, okay, well, how do I make myself care? How do I kind of self-respect in a way to
Isn't it interesting that to clear the mess, I don't think it's about loving yourself necessarily. I think if you start to clear this, it's like a bit of an oxymoron. I think if you start to clear the mess, you love yourself more.
yeah.
So we think, oh, for me to start working myself, I have to love myself. But I actually think for you to love yourself, you have to start working on yourself. So it's that action to start doing things for you that taps into, like we spoke about earlier, the worthiness. And then I'm starting to care about myself more, which means I love myself. I've worked with a 50-year-old client who hasn't put herself first in 30 years. And then the act of just making herself a cup of coffee in the morning before she does everything else
Wow.
makes her feel good. And she's like, I don't know why I suddenly feel better today. The act of just putting the bed sheets over or going for a morning walk or reading or all these little things, they will make you feel, they will tap into I'm good enough. So talking about the mess in the house and not loving yourself. So talking about the mess in the house and loving yourself, to love yourself, start by clearing the mess. And then when you start feeling more at ease with the house that you're living in, then you'll have room to love yourself more. And I think that's the power. That's the bridge. That's the bridge for me, if anything. And I know we're all different.
It's powerful.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? It's this is getting me ticking as well. So
Yeah, it is. honestly, I wasn't expecting this at all.
Well, we waffled, didn't we?
This is what we do. But
Yeah.
honestly, for obviously for anyone listening who has, enjoyed this conversation, please check out Safe Space, because there is so much more than just this conversation there, and the impact that you guys are having is phenomenal. And it's I think when you said that about like, oh, the goals and stuff like that, like if this is the kind of value that people, I mean, I'm just one person and I've genuinely been blown away by this conversation. I can only imagine that the people like in that group, that the value they are getting. So if there's anyone here who wants to obviously go and check it out, where can they find it?
Right. So because it's so new, Safe Space, the website is going to be up in on January the 10th. So it won't be up by probably the time this podcast goes out. But I can leave you an email to get in touch. We're also on Instagram. I'm also personally on Instagram and social. Any social you can find me. Send me if people are going through anything, want to get in touch. Send me a message. Send me a direct message. I'm always in them. And I'll also leave our Cowdrey coach's email for you if you want to whack it in the bottom of the podcast.
Definitely.
But Safe Space is really cool. We actually have a competition at the moment. I don't know if it's going up. If you tag a friend, whatever, we're giving 3 people a first free month with Safe Space as like a Christmas gift, if you like. So if you check out the Instagram, you can maybe join Safe Space for the first month free. But either way, what I've loved this conversation, Taylor. I've really appreciated
No,
yeah,
genuinely, mate.
your
Like,
vulnerability as well.
definitely, like you're an absolute dog. I've loved it. Genuinely, like I was really worried about it because I thought, like, oh, I'm gonna be coughing and spurting all the way through this. But I haven't had to actually speak. So it's been great.
Oh, because I've waffled too much.
No, I don't think you've waffled enough. Like the
No,
amount of
no.
value I've took away from this, and like the kind of thought process that I'm gonna now take away from this, like what better way to start the day?
Cool, cool. Thanks for having me, Taylor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's been fun.
Oh, mate, that was genuinely really, really, really good. I
That
really, really enjoyed that.
I can't believe that's an hour. I that just absolutely flew by, didn't it?
Oh shit, yeah.
That's
I
great.
didn't even realize the time.
No, I
Um,
literally looked at 11:11. What a sign! My
oh
mum does
yeah.
that. She goes, "It's a sign. Make a wish." And I'm like, "A wish for what?" But it's eleven
You can't tell
eleven.
people. It won't come true.
Oh, never tell anyone. It's like an eyelash drops. You gotta wish and blow the eyelash. Yeah. But I'm
Um,
sorry about your chest infection, man.
I'm so
I hope.
annoyed because I've got another recording at 2 o'clock. I thought, oh, I'll do it today. Like I'll do like because these are like my last two of the year now.
Yeah.
And then that'll mean me done. And then literally yesterday, I think to be fair, I think I overdid it. Like I had my Christmas party on Friday, and then I had drinks with my friends on Saturday, and then obviously the snow came down on Sunday. Um,
Yeah.
so I think I've just kind of overdone it. And then I like woke up this morning, and I was like, why does this keep happening to me? But yeah,
A lot of people are getting unwell.
it's so
Um,
annoying because I tested and it's like obviously it's negative, but then it's just like, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm done with
you're
it.
done. I hear you, but you'll be back next week, no
Oh,
doubt.
100%.
And
Never
you're
doubted
actually
that.
probably better to be ill now before Christmas, so you'll feel fresh during Christmas. All those antibodies,
So,
whatever. All that you'll be. Are you on antibiotics?
no.
Oh, you're
Well, to
not.
be fair, because it's only really been today. But if I don't
Oh, I
ring my
see.
doctors at 8:30, then there was absolutely no chance of getting in.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So, no. Well, that's
Well,
tomorrow's problem.
yeah, man.
Today's
Whereabouts do
problem.
you live?
Coventry.
Oh, cool. Nice, nice. Well, if you're ever in London, you need to let me know and we can go for a coffee.
Definitely. Well, to be honest, I'll get in touch with you about that event. Obviously, there is absolutely no pressure
Oh, to see.
whatsoever. But yeah, we'll see. But mate,
Where is that?
genuinely.
That's in London, right? You said Guildhall.
Oh no, in Coventry, that'll
Oh,
be.
it's in
Yeah,
Coventry. Oh,
yeah.
It's Coventry. Yeah, I'll come and.
Um, yeah, St. Mary's Guild. It's just brilliant. And I miss that kind of the connection of like the live audience and kind of
Yeah.
that having the conversation with everyone there. It's I think it like I love this, but I'm in that situation where like I want to challenge myself more, and I love the last one. And so I was like, right, okay, this is what I do. I
I'm
don't
so
actually ever rest, and it's like, okay, I should be like sitting down, but now I'm like, okay, what can I do to challenge myself? So,
That's out of the comfort zone. You learn a lot about yourself and that sort of stuff.
mate, it's completely changed my life getting out of it.
Yeah. It's that feeling that when you actually do something that you didn't think you were capable of is such a cool feeling. You're like, whoa, I did that. Makes you feel again, that's the tapping into the I'm worthy, tapping into that I'm actually wow, I can actually do I'm actually quite good. I'm makes you proud of yourself, doesn't it?
Definitely, which is a
When
weird feeling to feel, especially when
yeah,
you've never felt it before. So it's
yeah, for
nice.
sure, for sure. Well, 100%, it's 100%. If you're ever in London, and also with these, I mean, look, what with these, we basically what we're doing is create a safe space website at the moment, which is going to be like coaching and then your safe space meetups. And we basically want to create meetups that sort of follow a similar model to sort of AA in the sense that people
Yeah,
all sit down and talk. Everyone gets involved and talks and tells their stuff and has a moment to talk. But like, if you want to join on that journey and eventually help us create one in Coventry and help one create, then it
mate, I don't
basically
think you
it's 20.
realize the impact that that's going to have. I don't think I've ever heard of that before being done.
Well, apart from
From
AA, they do
AA,
it.
yeah,
But it's like, but people the fact that it all starts with just a bad thought or a bad time, and then it all rolls on to then suicide or
yeah,
then mental health depression. If you get people just going, I'm having a really shit time today, and I don't feel very good about this, the offloading,
yeah,
I think, and knowing that you're not alone is the coolest part because that's the that community thing. But I don't know how we don't really know how to start it. We're just going to start with one in London, do it again, do maybe and then get loads of people keen to
yeah,
help around the country and around London and stuff, and then they run one, then they run because it's non-profit. We're not making money from it,
yeah,
so anyone can get involved. It's not like this. Oh, we're running this event here and here. It's like you're in East London. Would you be interested in holding one, even if it's 3 people? You're
yeah.
there, and then imagine if they were like around the world. There's 100,000 going on a day, like because of just people just talking about
Look
their
at the
stuff.
fire that's going now. I could literally
Yeah,
see it in your face.
yeah, no, it's cool.
I honestly, I feel like this has been a brilliant, brilliant conversation. But I'm gonna shoot because I feel like I really need to go get some water.
Go get some water. Great to chat.
Um,
And yeah, stay in
Legend.
touch. Okay.
Definitely.
Look after that
Likewise.
throat.
I
Cheers, bro.
know. Minging.
See you,
Right,
man.
see you in a bit, mate. Bye bye.